Ndị be anyị ndewonu. Ọ bụ Ada Igbo na-ekwu na Igbo Media. N'Igbo Media, anyị na-ewetara unu ọtụtụ ozi gbasara ihe na-emegasị na Biafra Land, n'ala Igbo na mba ndị ọzọ. N'ụbọchị nke taata, o nwere ihe bịara n'iru akwụkwọ anyị nke anyị ga-agụpụtara unu n'ụbọchị taa. Anyị gụpụtachaa ya, unu egee ya ka ọha n'uju. Ị ga-esie ya, ị drọpụọla your comment, like kwa this our video and gbasakwa ya ka o ruo ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche arụ. Ozi anyị wetara ntata si n'aka otu nwanne anyị nwoke, a Biafra activist. Dịka o si wetara anyị ozi a n'iru akwụkwọ, ọ dere sị, Bola Tinubu in panic as USA warns, we will step into that disgraced country and wipe out Islamic terrorists committing atrocities against Christians as USA Department of War to prepare for action, Donald Trump. Ya bụ ozi ka anyị ji bịa tata na Igbo Media. Ị ga-esie ya bụ ozi, gbaa mbọ gwa anyị iche ma mekwa ka ozi alụtụ ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche aka. Ngwa gere ya ka ọha n'uju.
Is taking action in response to the killing of thousands of Christians in Nigeria. President Trump vowing possible sanctions and saying on Truth Social, quote, radical Islamists are responsible for the mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of, quote, particular concern and entrusting Congressman Riley Moore and other lawmakers to immediately look into this report and report back to me. West Virginia Representative Riley Moore joins us now. Congressman, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your continued efforts in bringing attention to this matter. I'm going to say what's going on there, and I know it's tough, but people need to hear it. Christians are being macheted, burned alive. They're being forced to, dig their own graves before they're buried alive. They're being raped. They're being killed. They're being starved. Why have we not been hearing more about this?
Well, Rachel, the mainstream media has just turned a blind eye to this, but this network specifically has been giving me and others a platform to actually talk about that. So I do really want to thank you so much for doing that and highlighting it, because it has made a difference. We're talking about between 50,000 and 100,000 Christians have been slaughtered in Nigeria since 2009. And we did have a designation on them in the first Trump administration as a country of particular concern. The Biden administration took that off because the killing, according to them, was happening because of land disputes, and climate change was the culprit in this, which it's hard to believe that that's even a justification. This is a genocide that's been going on by Islamic terrorist organizations. This designation by President Trump, and I just want to take 2 seconds. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you so very much, because this is going to end up saving lives. Thank you for this designation. And I think this is going to make a huge difference. And we're going to get right to work on this and get to the bottom of what's happening and give President Trump a full menu of options that we can use to try to stop these killings.
So what does the designation do exactly?
Well, this designation opens up a menu of 15 types of different options the president can use. One in particular is the suspension and prohibition of security assistance, which we have been doing security assistance with the Nigerian government. And that was a promise that they were going to receive arms and training from the United States to go kill and stop Boko Haram. They have not been doing that. They have not been stopping these Islamic terrorists, and in my view, have been collaborating and coordinating, and at least, at minimum, have just been turning a blind eye to it in Nigeria. So now that's going to stop. But this menu of options also includes the ability of the administration now to use targeted sanctions against entities within Nigeria itself, suspend economic cooperation. There's a whole list of options in here that I think is really going to have a dramatic effect in reducing the killings in Nigeria.
Yeah, every pastor, every priest, including the Pope, this should be the #1 issue for every Christian leader in America. I think members of Congress should go and visit. They go to Switzerland. They go to all kinds of places. Let's go. Let's see. Let's meet with the victims. Let's make it real if we really want to do something about it. You were part of a very wonderful CPAC Christian Persecution Summit that brought faith leaders together to talk about how we can fix this situation through policy and awareness. Just wanted to give you a last word on how that went, because I know you were part of it.
Yes, and I, want to thank Matt Schlapp, Mercedes Schlapp, the CPAC folks for putting that great event on. And it was one day after that event, and then actually coming on this network, that President Trump put that designation in place. And just one day before All Saints Day, which we are obviously celebrating today as Catholics. So just such a huge, huge turning point in this entire saga and sad tragedy that's been taking place. But God bless you, President Trump. Thank you so very much for standing up for Christians in Nigeria and around the world. Amen to that. He really does care. And we should all pray for these martyrs. They are Christian martyrs. They have kept the faith under really horrific circumstances. Thank you, Congressman. We really appreciate it. Representative.
Thank you. So I have seen a lot of people writing all sort of things. They are happy the US government is coming into Nigeria. I see people saying, putting their comments, and a lot of people are happy. But please, fellow Nigerians, this is not what we should be happy about. This thing you see like this is an impending doom. But let it not look like I'm making it up. Let me drive you back to history a little. Before I do, just know this. The US is not interested in you as a Christian or you as a Muslim. If you put one Muslim here, put one Christian here, the US does not know the difference between the both of you, especially one Muslim Nigerian, one Christian Nigerian. They don't care about you people, your color, your religion. Do you know what the US is interested in? The solid mineral under the Muslim Nigerian and the liquid mineral under the Christian Nigerian. Those things you are standing on is what they are interested in. How did all these things happen? Jonathan was president. They came, they wanted to build military base. Jonathan refused. Then the next thing, he became an enemy and they launched the regime change. Obama made it public that Jonathan needed to leave office. The wife was busy campaigning for bring back their girls that up to today are not back. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, we started seeing suicide bombing. We started seeing Boko Haram attack everywhere. And what was Boko Haram looking for? They said they wanted to create a caliphate. They wanted to have their own country inside Sambisa forest. A caliphate. And then it didn't ring a bell to anybody. Okay, so to worsen the whole thing, Jonathan tried to get weapons from the US. They refused to sell to him. Jonathan had to go to South Africa to buy black markets. They seized the money. Jonathan was frustrated. Even when he implemented the first subsidy removal, these same people who are in office today, who helped the US to perfect their agenda, was the one that was still used to frustrate that particular idea, until he had to reverse it because he was afraid that the suicide bombers could actually attack protesters, and that would have been the biggest disaster in the world. They did everything possible to remove Jonathan, and he left. Then they had their best man in office. The best man, who was a Fulani, of course. He perfected the whole thing. That was also brought into office by a man that, in a court document that was retrieved by the David Hunde and Greenspan, Aaron Greenspan, stated clearly that they are not releasing some part of this person's information because it's a CIA asset. So they had their best hands in office finally, and then the next thing they started doing was, since Buhari is a Fulani man, the Fulani people became emboldened, and then they started hearing things like Ruga. Give us land in your states. Did you understand? Give us land in your states. And when that did not happen, they started the slaughter. And before you know it, it continued and continued and continued. Why were they slaughtering people? Has the Christian in any way been a problem to the Muslims? No. Has the Muslims in any way been a problem to the Christian? No. Have they ever had any clash and you hear it is Christian versus Muslim? No. Then what was the reason for the slaughter? Nothing. Where did all these Fulani boys get all these heavy weapons? Nobody knows. But today, finally, the point has now been established. The US now has a reason to designate Nigeria again. They initially designated Nigeria. Joe Biden removed it when he came in. But of course, it is the US. They can take forever to make a point. They finally designated Nigeria again, and this time around, it is more stern. It is coming with sanctions. It's coming with the US saying they now have they can take action. And when the US say they can take action, tomorrow morning you can see the US Army in Nigeria. Now they can decide to build a military base at their will, and they will. Me and you went traveling to even Ethiopia tomorrow. They are going to be checking your passport multiple times. More than used.
Daalụ niile maka isonyere anyị n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị taata na Igbo Media. Ọ bụ na ihe anyị na-ewetara gị dị gị mma, gbaa mbọ gbasaa ozi a ma mekwa ka ozi a rute ụmụnna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche aka. Ngwa ka ọ dị.